Okay, we're live. This is my live stream. I'm Joshua Kemble, and if you're new to this channel, welcome to my channel. And if you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you guys. So this is the live stream where I work on, and now I need to pull it up so I can remember the exact title. So I'm basically working on the graphic novel Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And it's a 230-ish page graphic novel that I need to have done basically by by the end of the year. It's like I have like 365 days to do it. And it's going to be a bit of a pinch to make it happen, but we're doing our best to kind of make it happen. It's a story that's written by my sister, Lavender Vroman, and we were lucky enough to get it picked up for publication from West Margin. And I'm really excited about it, but it requires a lot of research because it's a historical fiction comic. And then aside from that, it requires just like nightly dedication to doing the art and stuff like that. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing on these streams. On the last stream, we basically did the roughs for page 7. And now I'm going to be thumbnailing and doing research for page 8 and maybe getting into the roughs. We'll see how far we can get. And the fun thing about the research, at least on these streams so far, it's actually been a pretty fun engagement with live streams, because as I'm looking for things, like this book takes place, it's about the Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Robert Browning. And so a lot of the research that I have to look up is like, what did a Victorian Chase Lounge look like? Like, what did 50 Wimple Street look like? What did and as every page of the script that comes up, there's like a new fun thing that I have to kind of research, and I like it because it ends up being kind of a collaborative effort. So that being said, I have some really cool news too. I can't give specifics on it, but I know that I was kind of excited about this. I ended up getting a passport specifically for this. But Graphic Mundi wanted to kind of do our official like signing launch kind of type event for Jacob's Apartment at Toronto Comics Festival, which is TCAF, in Toronto, Canada. And I'm one of those people, I haven't really traveled out of country since probably I was like 18. I'm a homebody. I'm not like really a wanderlust kind of like traveling all over the world type guy. And just the idea that the publisher has a space there and they want me there is really exciting. So we were kind of waiting to find out whether Graphic Mundi would have a presence at TCAF. And what's cool is, in June, I think late June, all the details, I have a terrible memory. So I would encourage you guys, if you're curious about upcoming events that I have on my dock, boom, right there, joshuakemble.com should take you to my website, and it'll have, I believe, a section that says live events, and that'll give you kind of the time frame of when TCAF is happening. I don't know what space we're in, and frankly, I think the one thing we're waiting to hear back on is like whether I'm going to be doing panels or anything like that, or if it'll just be appearances at the Graphic Mundi table. But Philip, that's exciting. Philip in the chat said, hey there, when is that? I live right near Toronto. Awesome. Come meet me there. So TCAF, definitely plan to go there at least one day. I think it's a free event in Toronto. It's a huge, awesome kind of indie comics thing, and it's kind of a hub for like the literary type graphic novels that I like to do. I've heard praises about that convention for years, and so I'm really excited to just know that that's going to be happening. As for the logistics of it, like whether I'll be selling copies of 2 stories, I have no idea. I know Jacobs will be sold there for sure. I'm going to see about 2 stories, but in order to kind of get that arranged, I'm going to have to kind of figure out like, is there some kind of special way you have to ship things that you're planning on selling in another country. Like that's what I need to find out. Like with books, if I ship 2 stories, it is like that process of just shipping it across the border to a convention center or whatever. Is that even going to be worth the expense, like versus what I would make selling them? Ideally, it'd be cool if I could sell two stories too, because 2 stories itself could pay for my trip. So we'll see. But regardless, if you're in Toronto or if you're in like I think like New York or Chicago, like that kind of area, Michigan, this will be a good event and it'll be well worth it. And I'd encourage you guys anyway, like even if I weren't there, to kind of do TCAF, because it's just like a really cool event. So I'm excited about that. I'll let you guys know more when I know like booth numbers and if there are panels that I'll be on or something like that. But I'm like incredibly excited about it. Um, so yeah, so that's super nerdy. Um, Landon said, "Wonder if Dave Finch will be there." I know he's a Canadian. I have no idea. I know that I think one of the reasons it's become such a hub for like indie and literary comics is I think that the home turf for Drawn and Quarterly is in Canada, and so there's a lot of like publishers and really cool stuff going on in Canada. I'm kind of hoping that if I do that, maybe I can meet up with the Fan Brothers too, because they're kind of old acquaintances from the Threadless days when we were designing T-shirts, and I would love to kind of meet up with some of my Canadian brothers and sisters. So who knows? But I'm super excited. I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm really excited about it and nerded out because um, pretty much every indie cartoonist I knew, especially in Portland, there were a lot of indie cartoonists that I knew back when I lived in Portland, and like every single one that did the convention scene was like singing the praises of 2 conventions. One was Mocha, and the other which I guess is in New York, and then the other one was TCAF. And then a lot of them also spoke really well of SPX, which I still haven't been able to do yet, but who knows? Who knows what the future will bring? Because I didn't think I'd be doing TCAF, and I'm doing that this year. So anyhow, that is a long-winded intro, and now let's get into the nitty-gritty of doing this stuff. Oh, before I do though, I want to make sure I'm feeding the chat, make sure I'm attending to you guys. Philip said, "I know every year I keep missing it for whatever reason, but if you're there, I'll make an effort to go." Awesome, Philip, that'd be cool. Yeah, and again, like also the cool thing is just Graphic Mundi in general, like this publisher is amazing. So like again, like come there to check out Jacobs and meet me and stuff, but at the same time also check out what they have to offer, cuz I would like it's a weird scenario, but it's like they put out books that like I would be geeked out to like go to their booth to buy, just because there's such quality books. So so yeah, that's the kind of somewhat good news. Keith said congrats. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's an exciting thing. And as I figure out more of the logistics, flights, all of that, I'll kind of reach out to you guys and let you know. In fact, honestly, Philip, I might have to hit you up and be like, "Hey, where's a good place?" Like, I don't know how far it is from the airport. I don't really know anything about Toronto. I think I just found out like maybe a week ago that it's in Ontario, and I don't even really understand. Like, is Ontario like a province? Like, I don't know as much about Canada as I should, considering especially that like my father lived in Canada for quite a few years, and yet again I have no concept of it. Um, so it should be really exciting and fun. And anyhow, that's the kind of good news on that. And I don't want to like overhype it too much. Philip said, "Yeah, I'll help you give you directions if you need it." Awesome, that'd be great, man. That's half the fun of the internet is this day and age we can like know people in other states and countries and like get tips on like where's a good place to get a sandwich around here. Like that's that's gonna be kind of the type of stuff where like do you guys have Uber? Like because if you don't have Uber, I guess I'll have to figure out how to do the cab, and then also yeah, I haven't really traveled across states, countries like that. So I'm like, do you guys take like the same, like, would my debit card work there, or do I probably need to call my bank? I don't know. I'm not going to bore you guys with all the crazy the way my mind works before we get into stuff. Oh, Philip said we do have Uber. Okay, perfect. That's great because that will save me fare when it comes to like getting from the airport to wherever I end up staying and all that stuff. Um, I'm excited though. That'll be really fun. Yeah. Philip said Ontario is the province. It's sort of like a state in the U.S. Okay, see, I'm learning new things through the chat, so I really appreciate it. Um, I'm pretty excited about it though, and also this is another weird thing about like publishers and stuff is like I haven't yet met my editor, and I'm excited about that, like meeting my editor and like the staff, like Rachel, like the designer, and just like like a lot of these people we've been working like kind of digitally, and maybe we've had like some online kind of interactions and stuff. But it'll be fun to be able to actually like personally thank them for what they've done for me, which is put out a really beautiful book. That being said, I guess we'll get into it. So I was gonna say, like, part of the way my brain works, that's kind of a thing I have to keep in check, is once I start a train of thought, it's really hard for me to kind of break from it. And so I have noticed that, like, even in this scenario, where the second I pull a thread of like my trip um to Canada, it's like I instantly, and this is a strength of mine. I think it's part of why I make an okay art director, is like when I have like an objective in sight, it's like my brain, I can't even control it. My brain instantly starts back planning and problem solving. Like it just won't stop. And the second I start that process, it's like I'll start going through figuring out all the contingencies and logistics of it, and like whatever could go wrong or whatever could go right, and like kind of trying to like create a map or a plan that's effective. And I think in a weird way, I don't think I'm alone on that. I think that might be just like a cartoonist brain, um, because like graphic designers and cartoonists are problem solving. We're like visual problem solvers, and so in general, we're really good at like having a problem or creating a problem, and then creating all of the pathways to sort of come up with a solution for that problem. And a lot of the time, it's visually, but I think for me, and I don't know if you guys have this, but it's like for myself, I have to like try to keep my mind in check so that I don't end up going down those threads when I don't have to. Like in the sense of the Canada thing, like obviously a lot of this is like pending on more information. I just got confirmation that we're going to be doing it and it's go. So that's good news, and that should be good enough for now. And I should be able to kind of progress and do my work. So okay, switching gears. Let's pull up the stream and let's get into thumbnailing page 8. But thank you, Philip, too, for like the kind of insider info on that stuff. And Landon, I need to actually, to be honest, I have to confess, I don't know if I know who Dave Finch is. And he's probably super famous, and I probably just have no idea. And I should look into that. Like, is this a good artist or a writer? And is it somebody in comics that I should know about? And if it is, please make fun of me in the chats for not knowing. And then Keith said, it is instantly figuring out how it will impact the production process. I get that. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into this wonderful stream. So, okay. So as usual, we have our section of the script right below me. And so that's what we have to like kind of rough out and do research for. So a lot of what we're going to be doing today will be sort of fun things like I think I already have the Cocker Spaniel that I have to look up, which is her dog, on Google. So we're going to have like our search bar when I'm searching. We're going to have right here also, if it's not the search bar, it's going to be the rough page. We're probably going to start by like breaking down the script like I was talking about, that kind of the kind of crazy brain where you're thinking about like, okay, what's the end result? What am I trying to accomplish? What do I need to look up? So we're going to take this little section of the script. We're going to break it down into every chunk that we need to research and kind of what we need to achieve. And then we're going to thumbnail it real quick. And then from there, we're going to start getting heavy into research. So yeah, I hope you guys are ready for it. And again, I really like appreciate the community that keeps showing up to these streams. It's super fun. And honestly, I feel like yesterday's stream was really interesting. Just the conversation about like publishing versus self-publishing, something I think a lot about. And the fun thing about doing these live streams is I think it was Landon who brought that up yesterday when I was doing stream. And I felt like that was pretty good content because it's something I think about a lot. I wouldn't think to articulate it. And you asked a really insightful question. And hey, now we've got really interesting content that I wouldn't have otherwise thought to like kind of provide. So much credit to you guys. Okay, so you guys can probably tell I'm just like a bundle of nerves today. Like I'm excited about a book that's coming out in June. Oh, I should mention this before we get into okay, one other thing to mention before we get into these thumbnails and script. One last thought that might be helpful to you guys, especially if you're in a scenario where like, hey, you finish your comic, you have to do all this extroverted stuff. Cause like as an artist, I think naturally, especially cartoonists, like we're really solitary people. And then writers are really solitary people because it's a solitary thing. You're like sitting in front of a blank page. I'm trying to kind of get out of that a little bit by doing these live streams. Um, but it's a very solitary experience and it's a very introverted experience. And even doing these live streams feels a little more intimate and introverted because it's like, hey, if you guys are watching these live streams, you know, you're kind of it's almost like you guys are joining me in my house or whatever. So I kind of still feel like, okay, it doesn't feel as like uncomfortable as like sort of reaching out to like a newspaper or something and being like a newspaper writer you've never talked to and being like, hey, here's why you should care about this book and write an article about it. And it also doesn't feel as awkward as all of the other stuff that you have to do to kind of promote a book. And so here's the sad thing about like books and book promotion is like, you know, we introverts, good morning or good evening, Gary. I'm so sleepy and out of it. I almost said good morning. um, but anyhow, so the tough thing about you know, cartooning and stuff like that is we're naturally kind of inclined to being, I think, a little more reclusive and a little more introverted, and especially getting into this, being able to get into a space where we're comfortable kind of being alone for long periods of time and living in our imagination in our heads for a little bit. And to switch gears from that, which is like completely required to do what we do, to then like having to do press releases, which is really like that's an introvert's nightmare. It's like I'm going to reach out to these total strangers and try to make them care about me. And it's like, as an introvert, just your natural response is like, well, screw them. Like, I'm just gonna, like, you know, I'm just going to do my own thing. And then people can kind of care if they care. And I think that's a pretty natural response for artists but in order for us to get press and success and like get people to care about our book, we have to be like coming up with like pitch lines and like all this extroverted stuff. Um, so this is a very long-winded short thing that I was going to say. So I come up with workarounds. Like a good example is the thing we're about to do, the thumbnails, the breaking down of the script, like the fun, heady stuff. That stuff I live for. Like I love comics. I can do that. I can do that very comfortably on a live stream. The stuff that I don't like doing, I've actually forced myself to do. So today I started my stream a little later, and that's because I literally wrote down on a list. I have a list that I have to check off every night. And one of the things on the list is number one press release. So every night before I get to my comics, I have to send out one press release. That means I'm going to start by all the easy stuff, like people I've appeared on their shows before, that kind of stuff, right? But it's going to get gradually more and more awkward where I'm going to have to reach out to some publishers and publications that I haven't gotten responses for or haven't written articles about me yet. But I'm going to have to do that in order to do my comic, and I have to do my comic nightly in order to hit my deadline. So I've just forced myself into a situation where I have to do promotion, which is essential for the book to succeed. So, and then the other thing on my list is reach out about signings or in-store appearances. So that's number 2. So I started that 2 days ago. so I haven't sent out a lot, but so far it's really effective. And the thing is, until I do those 2 things, I'm not allowed to sit down and work on my comic. And that's frustrating because it's like, hey, I just got off work. I need to get going on this thing. I don't have time to do these 2 things. But I've already kind of programmed my brain a little bit to be like, no, no, no. You're going to have to stay up even later if you don't do those things. So it's not optional. I have to do this. I was only mentioning that as that might be useful for you guys because I'm guessing I'm not the only one who's like super uncomfortable about that kind of thing. And so, I mean, I'd say like you guys should maybe consider doing that too. Like when you have work you have to promote, maybe that becomes like a routine where it's like, hey, before I sit down to work on the next book or before I sit down to work on this thing, I have to do 2 reaching out for like press or reaching out for, I guess, that could even work if you're like trying to build a freelance career. Like before I sit down to do my drawing, I have to reach out to 2 clients, whatever it is. It's kind of keeping that extroverted part that we all hate, like embedded into the thing. And then if you're an artist who doesn't struggle with extroversion, well, good luck to you. Like I envy you. Okay, now let's get into the fun stuff. So we have our script. So as usual, I think what we're going to start with is I'm going to make a list of things from the script that we have to do. And anyhow, but I do think that making lists and like kind of forcing yourself to get outside of your comfort zone is like a very good habit to kind of like build into your art routine. The first struggle for creatives is making that built-in routine. Like that's why things like the 100 days of making comics or whatever it is, like as long as you're forcing and starting to build in yourself like the self-discipline to like show up every day and work on it every day. That's like the first struggle. The second is like once you've built that in, like building in other habits of like all the salesy stuff that unfortunately we have to do, right? Including things like, that could be really fun, like going to Toronto. Like I'm really excited about TCAF. Really excited. Need to stop thinking about it so I can focus. Okay, here we go. Page 8. So we have Wilson, who's the maid. We kind of worked out what Wilson's going to look like on the last page. And I'm wondering if I did pull some references already in here, but I think we need to pull our Wilson reference as well. So let's start with that. Wait a second. Should we start pulling references yet? No. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Okay. So we're going to do our boring list. One is going to be Wilson. So it says Wilson lets Robert into Elizabeth's bedroom. So it's like we've got Robert now, who we've drawn, but we've drawn mostly from the back. Like we haven't really seen like a full front shot of Robert. Although in the pitch, I did do work on drawing Robert, so we'll probably be pulling. Like luckily, none of this stuff so far is stuff where we'll have to do any online research. And then 3 is Elizabeth's bedroom. And for those of you who've been watching the stream, we are good on that. Like we just have to pull that So these are ones we already have. Okay, so now we've got, she goes to the window and pulls aside the curtain to keep watch on the street below. So now we have the street, and I'm trying to think if we're going to need research, because we do have 50 Wimple. I'm just going to write 50 Wimple. That was the street. But I think most of our views of 50 Wimple were from one side and not the other. So that's something that we might have to look up. Okay. So Elizabeth sits on the couch. We have that chaise lounge, right? We have a thick blanket over her lap. We've already drawn that blanket. At her feet sleeps her faithful Cocker Spaniel, Flush. So, okay. So I have read this script, and I had read about Flush, and I hadn't really visualized, like, hey, what color is this dog? And what a strange name for a dog. And then I was just talking to my wife, like, right before starting the stream, and I mentioned her dog's name was Flush. I think there's like a famous playwright who wrote a story, I think a play that was from Flush, her dog's perspective about the Brownings, which is kind of an interesting thing. But anyhow, I didn't know a ton about her dog, and I was thinking, when I mentioned the name, like, my wife kind of chuckled because it kind of sounds like flushing a toilet. And I was trying to think, why would somebody name their dog Flush? And I was thinking, oh, okay, when you, like, in the Victorian era, like, somebody would look flush in the face, and that's usually like red in the face, like, if you're flush with anger. And so I was thinking, well, maybe it's a red Cocker Spaniel. And then I did some research online, and I found a sketch. And then we also found out that Flush was a red Cocker Spaniel. So we got that red Cocker Spaniel. And we're definitely going to have to research this for sure. There's no question about that. Right now, I'm kind of just listing assets that we have to kind of collect before we kind of get into the fun stuff. Okay, beside her on a tray sits an untouched supper. Untouched supper and tray. I hate to say it, we're going to have to research that, right? Like, what kind of untouched supper would somebody in Victorian England be having, and what does their supper tray look like? Are they having like lamb? Are they having pork chops? Like, is it like, are pork chops available at the time? Like, it's going to be like a brief research, but we have to look that up. Because if I just have like chicken, and then it's like, hey, they didn't really have access to chicken, and that class of people wouldn't buy chicken at the time, then it'd be a shame. Or maybe I'll just have her have a Happy Meal and just be like, that's a Victorian era Happy Meal, you guys. Chicken nuggets totally existed back then. Just imagine. Okay. So Elizabeth looks up at Robert, relieved. He strides to the couch. And again, we already kind of established her couch in her room, I think, is more of like a chaise lounge. And crouches in front of her, taking her hands gently in his. And Robert says, you look as worried as I imagined. Robert gives Flush his ears a good scratch. There's a good boy, Flush. And then Elizabeth says, and how would you have me look? And that is our sequence. Okay, not a ton of research, which is good. So we have a list of things we have to kind of look up. Right now we're going to do our thumbnail, and then hopefully we can get into the fun researchy part. So what's our thumbnail here? First thing I'm going to do is just kind of break down the amount of panels. So I know that's kind of weird, but so Wilson lets Robert into Elizabeth's bedroom. That's one. Okay, Okay, have we seen Wilson? The last one was him running across the street. I think people can connect the two. I don't think we need to show a ton of different things. She goes to a window. That's an action, going to the window, and pulls aside the curtain to keep watch on the street below. That could be the same action, but 2 to 3, I'm going to put with a question mark because we might need going to the window as one and then pulling aside the curtain. Because I think that's going to depend on how we stage it. Philip said, now you have me looking up Victorian meals. Perfect. Well, buddy, if you find anything, dude, send it to me. I love it. Okay. Dinner was the most Oh, I love this. Gary already did this search while I'm working on my thumbnail. You guys are amazing. Dinner was the most elaborate meal with multiple courses: soup, roasts, meats, or fish, vegetables, puddings, and sweets. Cheese was served at the end of the meal after dessert. Yeah, but this is like a sick person's meal. But I'm thinking roast meats is kind of good. Because we're definitely thinking this is like leftovers after the big meal because it's brought to her on a tray. She's sick in her room, mourning her brother's death and like pretty much like incapacitated. Like she hasn't left her room in like a year. So that's kind of where we're at with like where she's at. So it's got to be like a tray and probably like prepared meal from like a grander like multiple course meal. That's very helpful though. Soups are likely too. That's good. Okay, I'm liking what you guys are. A lot of foul puddings. I love it. A selection of tea, sandwiches, and biscuits, petite fours, nuts, and glazed fruits would be served on the most beautiful china with tea and sometimes alcohol. You guys are amazing. You're doing half my research for me. Okay. So going to the window and pulling aside a curtain could be possibly shown in one panel, probably two. She's going to sit on a couch. 4, with a thick blanket over her lap. Okay. So 4 to 5, that might be overdoing it, but it's like if I'm sitting on a couch, that's one action. But if I sit on a couch and a blanket magically appears over me, that's kind of weird. So maybe we need 2 actions to show the blanket being pulled over. 4 to 5. At her feet sleeps a faithful Cocker Spaniel Flush. Oh my gosh, now we're at 6. Oh man. Beside her on a tray sits her untouched supper. I guess you could kind of show that a supper shot. That man, that could be consolidated. Because right now we're already at like if we consolidate these, we're at 4. We're already at 7 panels if we fully show everything. Beside her on a tray, okay. Elizabeth looks up to Robert, relieved. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're like at 8, possibly. He strides to the couch and crouches in front of her, taking her hands gently in his. Oh my gosh, 8 to 9. And now we have dialogue. Okay, we got to start thumbing this out. And then we have him giving Flush's ears a scratch. So we have potentially 10 panels if we get too literal about this. So I need to try to condense these. Oh my gosh. Gary was saying this is all Wikipedia. Haha. I love it though. Hey, you guys pasting in results from Wikipedia saves me the search. So thank you. I'm really appreciating it. I would shoot for the Victorian high tea. I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, we got to kind of work this out. So Wilson's going to be letting him into the bedroom. We already kind of worked out the bedroom, but we're just going to kind of thumbnail it. So if it's Wilson letting him in, kind of like that. Like, okay. I think that actually kind of makes sense. Lets him into the bedroom. What side of is the door gonna open on? Okay, she'd be on the other side. Although I think this is like a wider framed door, but it still would make a lot of sense. So maybe we've got, you know what, we're gonna just not even worry about the panel border yet. These are such complicated actions. I think it's better to just work them out each individually. Okay, so we got Wilson. And this is a thumb, right? So we're just thinking, and she's letting him into the room. Okay, so maybe, okay, maybe she's got the door, and I think like more of a, yeah, more of a hand gesture there, okay? So we got Wilson. She's going to be letting him into the room. We got our door, and then we've got Robert, who's going to be kind of going in. Maybe he's holding his hat at this point because a gentleman would be holding their hat, right? And then where is she going to be? She's going to be on, I don't know. Gary, you got to answer to me. Where do you think what do you think Elizabeth is sitting on all day long? This is like, this joke is not going to get old for me because of that song. So anyhow, she's going to be on the Chase Lounge. Yeah, exactly. Gary was saying if there are other people in the house, presumably her tray would be cobbled together from the fancy spread happening in the dining room. So probably be parts of the typical dinner. Oh, and Gary did answer it. He said, I mean, I think a Chase Lounge. Anyhow, okay. So we did show her in the room before, but here we're gonna have potentially, we're just kind of working out like what is this roughly going to look like. The other problem is like I have to think about the arrangement. Okay, I have a printout of my page. That's helpful. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I've got a better idea of like the framing here. So then we're going to have here Elizabeth. She's going to be kind of looking over with the dog. Wait, except the dog's going to be at her feet. So there's her dog. And we're going to have the Chase Lounge or the Chaise Longue. And then her writing table. Here's where the window. Oh, wait, there's going to be a painting. Remember that from the last one? And then the windows will be kind of here. So Robert's here. He's got his thing. This is like complete chicken scratch to anyone who's not done like a thumbnail. She's going to have her kind of her hat and possibly her sort of maid stuff going on. Very frilly maid uniform and hands. Okay, we have that kind of roughly framed out. That's all I need for a thumbnail. So there's one shot. I shouldn't have drawn the borders yet. Give it more dynamic motion. I think I'm going to do that good old cheat of and this is going to help us so much when it comes to like the roughs. So Oh, did not want to move that guide. Okay. When it comes to the roughs, this will be helpful. So I'm thinking that's going to be like this, or should the movement be more like this? The movement like this is going to make Robert look more urgently, and it's going to guide us this way. So I think that's the way I'll tilt it. It's got more urgency to it. Okay. Now we can draw like a little bit of a panel thing. Okay. And again, we're going to just have to kind of work out how we want these sequences to work. So that's one. That's going to be panel one. So we have Wilson lets Robert into Elizabeth's room. Okay. Two is going to be she goes to the window and pulls aside the curtain to keep watch on the street below. Okay. The windows are going to be here. There's 3 of them. And there's going to be curtains on them. So the third will be over here. Okay. So we got our first panel. Man, this is going to be a tough one to work out. But yeah, Gary, I think you're right when it comes to the food. We're probably going to do leftovers from the spread of food that you just talked about, because there are multiple people in the house. I believe she had multiple siblings. Okay, so she goes to the window and pulls aside the curtain to keep watch on the street below. And she means Wilson. So now we got Wilson. I'm going to do that. Wilson's on the right. I want to show her actually cross the line of action, which means we're going to have like a similar shot. Why am I doing the frame first? So we're going to have a similar shot where now we have, where's Robert going to be? He's okay. Striding to the couch. Got it. So for this shot, I want it to be Robert's like here. He's strode to the couch, and he's going to be crouching in front of her, taking her hands gently in his. A lot of this is going to have to be just mixed up a little bit for it to make any sense, because it's just too many actions. And some of this we can consolidate into a few. And you can't really expect like somebody who's just writing and not breaking something down visually to like know that. In this case, I'm probably going to have, maybe he just has his hat here. I mean, in theory, I think if they weren't in a rush because her dad was out of the house, like somebody would have taken the hat. But here she's going to be like, oh, Robert. I'm kind of kidding. It's not that corny of a script, you guys. But so she's going to be here. This is going to be the dog flush. Okay. And then we're going to have the Chase Lounge. Again, because she's there all day long on it. Okay, so then we're going to have that. I hope this kind of makes sense. Like, all we're trying to work out at this point, here's going to be, we had this sort of established as like a, originally like a bouquet, but maybe this is later in the day. So this will be the plate of food. We're going to think about that with like the untouched meal sitting on the thing, which actually is going to have to be here. Okay. So then we're going to have back here again that writing desk. And this will be the this is the page that I'm looking at, by the way. So we're thinking about that layout, but we're coming from this angle, from above. Okay. So then we're going to have her. Okay. So we have Wilson going to the window and pulling aside the curtain. So here's going to be Wilson. And I think she's going to be using both arms to kind of pull aside the curtain. Kind of keeping watch of the street below. So she's being like the lookout while they're having this dangerous meeting. Their crazy romance here. Okay, so the other one was tilted for like action and movement. This is going to be less so. But this is my second panel. So now we have panel 2. Wow. Okay. I mean, these clearly should be right next to each other. And again, this is a thumbnail. We haven't even gotten to the roughs yet. And part of why, I don't know if the thumbnails take you guys as long, but for me, it's working out the logistics. And especially when working from a script, it's like kind of trying to make sequential sense of something written. I think that one thing people underestimate when they start comics is how hard it is to sequentially convey a written idea in a like way where if you didn't have text explaining what was happening above it, like somebody could look at it and go, "Oh, I know what's happening." Um, so now we got our 2. I'm going to merge down. Elizabeth sits on the couch, a thick blanket over her lap, and at her feet sits her faithful Cocker Spaniel Flush. I kind of like the idea of, okay, I'm going to turn off these distractions here. I kind of like the idea of, okay, let's see here. I kind of like the idea of having that consolidated where it's Elizabeth sits on a couch, a thick blanket over her lap. At her feet sleeps her faithful Cocker Spaniel Flush. Beside her, on a tray sits her untouched supper. Okay, so we're going to have Elizabeth sitting on the couch, thick blanket. Okay, I think here I'm going to have. Okay, we're going to kind of weave in some dialogue here to kind of make this work. So Elizabeth sits on the couch and she's looking at Robert relieved. So I'm going to actually have her kind of looking at Robert relieved. It is very funny doing thumbnails. Okay. Maybe it's like her. Why am I doing? I keep making the mistake of doing the borders first. I don't need to. We have a nice big blank canvas. Let's work it out. Okay, she's looking at Robert relieved. We're going to be showing her with a big thick blanket. So this is going to be her she's sort of reclining, but she's sitting up. And I'm going to have her kind of, let's see, hands. I kind of like the idea, as corny as it is, I do think that shows a little bit of excitement and relief having the hands clasped. I don't want her to seem like a maiden in distress, but I do think that communicates what we're thinking. So she has like some pillows behind her. She's going to have like the blanket kind of up this way. And we're going to have the Chase Lounge or the Chase Lounge, which I've decided to just kind of do in the very bad pronunciation because I always get the pronunciation wrong. And then we're going to have Robert here. Maybe Robert's a little closer in panel and frame. But he's looking at her. And he's going to have Robert's hair, which is, Robert had like a pretty well-kept haircut. And just, he had this weird beard that kind of went like that. So, okay, this is going to be the foreground of him. He shouldn't be that high up because I already have him crouching down. So we'll kind of keep that in mind. Okay. Just kind of thumbnailing this out, guys. He's here. He's going to be looking up at her a little bit. There we go. Much better. I think maybe his hands here will be... Got it. Okay. We need to have the dog in frame. And I think it would be cool to have the dog sort of here. Kind of like, huh? This is going to be a Cocker Spaniel, so I'm going to have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure they have like long floppy ears. So but the dog's going to be like, oh, like suddenly maybe a little more alert. Okay, we have our kind of rough scene here. The food untouched I want to have here. So for now, we'll just assume it's like roast beast and whatever. Okay. I love these like fast, like honestly, thumbnailing is fun. You know, it's fun to kind of work out. So, okay. I think doing a wide shot that's a little more like cropped in. That actually make a lot of sense. Sort of just working out, like the nice thing about like a thumb is even if it's simple and it's just like a map for me, it's like still going to give me so much information that I then do not have to like look up. I kind of like the idea of the untouched supper being highlit, possibly. Okay. She's still going to be on the left. Here with like maybe that. And it's going to be Robert. He's concerned. And this is going to be Robert's, you know, kind of more kempt hair. But he's got like his old Victorian hat thing. or thing, and then he's got his strange beard. So this will be what you look as worried as I imagine. And here we're just, again, like, we're not doing rough, so we're just kind of figuring out, like, okay, there's going to need to be space here. So maybe Elizabeth's head's going to be back a little bit. And I like the idea of the hand being out so that when we show the panel where he's holding her hand, that'll happen. Okay. You look as worried as I imagined. Elizabeth looks up at Robert, relieved. He strides to the couch, crouches in front of her, taking her hands gently in his. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. This is a crazy thing. And again, we can always like rework this in a second, but I'm thinking like he's going to have, I want to have it clear that the direction of his eyes needs to be clearly in front here. And then it's going to be here. Here he's going to be looking down to, that's going to direct us to like the empty food thing. And here will be them clasping hands. How's that going to work? Got it. Oh. I like the idea of him holding her hand with like both hands because she's not in like great shape right now, right? I want the opacity down. Okay. And this is going to be her saying, and okay, nothing. She's not going to be saying anything. It's just a repeat panel. Okay, we're getting there, guys. Oh, I have a better idea. This next one's going to be wait. I feel like the timing would work better. Oh my gosh, I was going to have her say, and how would you have me look? But he has to scratch her ears first, so never mind. I was thinking like flipping that where he could scratch the dog's ears after. Okay. I enjoy the thumbnail process as well, says Philip. Something about working fast and getting the dynamics of a post. Yeah, I agree. Speaking of, we're at like the hour mark. We're almost through the thumbnails. So I'm going to go ahead and play a trailer for Jacob's apartment as I take a break. So for about a minute. So I will put on that trailer right now. And I will see you guys in a few minutes after that gets done. Okay, so quick break time. When we get back, we're going to work out the rest of the thumbnail and the sequence for the page and hopefully have like a really clear picture of where we're going to go next. Okay, here we go. And this is for my graphic novel that I got the actual copy of. It's very beautiful. It's a very cool book. And this comes out in June 7th. And I think we'll be launching it at Toronto Comics Fest, so TCAF, in June. So, and if you want more information, you can look at live or upcoming events on joshuakemble.com. And also make sure you've pre-ordered this book. All right, here's the trailer. And then we'll get back to all the fun stuff. I'm like trying to put the book down before hitting the trailer. Okay, here you go. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. Well, my goodness. Okay, so we're right back. We're going to make this work. And I think that... How can we make this work? Okay, so we have him looking... maybe in this case it's... well, we'll find out. We'll find out if there's better ways to frame it. Okay, so... Elizabeth looks at Robert relieved. He strides the couch in front of her, taking her hands gently in his. Gently would be like her hand over his. Okay. So we're going to kind of rework how that gently works. Philip says, I get the feeling Jacob's apartment is going to be a sad story. Yes, it's like a doomed romance, to be in full transparency. It's a doomed romance story. That's one other thing, because Two Stories is a relatively sad story as well. And so one of the things I'm really enjoying about this is it's a nice break, because I've written two really heavy stories. And I think they're important stories, and they talk about like really heavy subject matter. I poured my soul into them a little bit. But I have to admit, it is kind of fun to work on something a little more like mysterious and like fun. Even though it's dealing with equally heavy subject matter, it's like this book is a lot more of a happy kind of book, which is kind of a nice change of pace, considering I've done like two really heavy ones. And then the second volume of Two Stories is going to be, I think, very redeeming and happy, like toward the end. But oh my gosh, it's going to be a rough road for both the reader and for me for the second volume of Two Stories, because it gets into like some really heavy autobiographical stuff. So this is a nice kind of change of pace. Okay, so this is him looking at the untouched food. If we're seeing him here, maybe here can be, because I want to keep him on the left still. I don't even know if this will work, but yeah. Untouched plate of food. I don't know if we need the untouched plate of food. Because it's just like there's so much information on this page that we need to kind of condense. So we'll see if we're going overboard with that. Her untouched plate of food. Maybe his face doesn't need to be in it. I don't know. We're gonna kind of see, but maybe that'll work. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So untouched plate of untouched supper, kind of beside her. Okay. Wow, we're already at 2, 4, 6 panels. All right, well, let's just thumbnail it out and see what we can do. Okay. Elizabeth looks up at Robert, relieved. I think we already have that handled here. Cow. He strides and crouches in front of her, taking her hands gently in his. We already did that. You look as worried as I imagined. That's already done. He gives Flush's ears a scratch. Oh, wait a minute. Boom. I think I have it where it'll work in the story beat a little better. Haha. So this works a little more to the script. I don't like this head like that. I think it needs to be more just there we go. At least that sequence is working a little better. I don't know if I like that food thing. It could also just be a shot of the food. That'll give us a little more space. But I'm wondering, I mean, that does show him looking away. Yeah, let's just do the shot of the food. I think people will put that together. And instead, we're going to show the full thing. Because we don't need like a head. Like I need to assume better of my audience that they can kind of they can hang with that connection. Like they're not, you know, readers aren't dumb. And that's always a good reminder. Like to, I don't know, when you're working this out, you want to spell it out for people, but you also want to assume the best of your audience. So as long as things are sequentially clear. So okay, that'll be the food. And then this is going to be the you look as worried as I imagined. And now it's going to be the Robert scratching Flush's ears. Okay, here's an idea. Now we're gonna switch sides potentially. Oh my gosh, is that too much? I want to try to keep Elizabeth on the left and Robert on the right. If I flop that without showing somebody cross the line, it's going to seem like a ton of time passed. But I want to show him because this is going to be a hard action to show without crossing the line. Oh, okay. Got it. This is going to be Robert kind of reaching over, scratching the ears of Flush, who's going to be like here, and we kind of smiling. He's suddenly Snoopy. Whatever. Again, we're just kind of working out the sequence here. So I want it to be a little more casual. Yeah, that works. Okay, and here's going to be like his sort of pose with flush. He's on his knees, so that's good to know. Okay, and then Elizabeth's going to be here, sort of like proud of her dude. Elizabeth's going to be like, I like the idea of her eyes being like a little bit more kind of there looking at him with like a bit of a proud sort of stare. And she's going to be like propping herself up a little more now with her hands. Maybe her arms a little more arched. And blanket. So this is more like we're now on this side of the Chase Lounge. And then here we're going to have Wilson. Sort of keeping an eye out. Drapes. Window. She's going to be just like a little paranoid about because we want to keep the suspense a little bit that like, hey, they are kind of like the dad snuck out of the house. This is like teenagers in love, except in this scenario it's like Elizabeth's like 30 and Robert's in his 20s. Okay, and then here we had it sort of established. I'm guessing this is just going to be, this wall is going to have more like bookshelves and stuff. And then we had already established that on this side of the room, in the area that got cut off, was going to be the bed, which is going to be like covered by drapes, because we decided like back in the day that would have been like in times of old, that would have been like the kind of way to do it. Okay. And then this is why thumbnails are so great. Don't know if I like his head being entirely cut off. I don't mind cutting off a head or two if you have to for a thing, but here's his hat too. I don't want to forget the hat. Okay, and then he's going to be saying, "There's a good boy." Flush. Did that manage to work, or did I just flop the line of action? Darn it! I flipped the line of action. No. Okay, you guys tell me in the chats. Would that feel unsettling to cross the line there? Like, would that feel like a different time, like that transition where we have Robert here and now Robert's on the left? Darn it. I think what I need to do, oh, this is so annoying. I'm trying to think of a way to show this from like a similar route. Darn it though. Like he can't be I think this is the hard part about, so the line of action rule is like if you have a character on the left and a character on the right, you generally want to keep if character 1 is on the left and 2 is on the right, you generally want to keep them to those sides unless you literally show this character walk across over here. It's the only time you're supposed to cross the line. And in comics, you can kind of cheat it a little more because you're not like bound by like a camera. but still crossing the line of action makes it hard to read. And to me, this is problematic because it's going to cause like a brief moment. I know it's like a really crappy sketch, but my point is, I'm guessing you guys, even in the chats, would have a brief moment of like, wait, what? Because suddenly he's on the left. It just, it like a little unsettling. So now I got to think of a more creative way. Okay. I liked that composition too, but I think I need to think of a more creative way to kind of make it work. You guys can let me know in the chats though if you disagree. I mean, I don't think that's working yet. So I think we have to reframe. I think we have to think of a new way of framing this part of the thumb. Okay. I did like that kind of positioning though. I'm just thinking now it has to be. So trying to figure out the float. So basically, Robert right here is on the right, and then this is Elizabeth's head, like kind of like her profile. So you'd have like her here, and then Robert here, right? So Robert's on the right, Elizabeth's on the left. Here now, suddenly Robert's on the left and Elizabeth's on the right. I think that'll be unsettling. So I have to think of a way to reframe this scene to where I'm not cheating and crossing the line of action. So I need to think of a way to kind of frame it to where I keep Robert on the right and Elizabeth on the left. I think the easiest way to do that is going to be like almost like a more. Okay, let's try that. So how about Elizabeth from the side? Kind of more like Elizabeth's going to be here. We've got her kind of like a little more up. She's going to be sort of laying on her chase lounge. Robert's going to be more like here. I think he's like at eye level because he's I think it's going to be more like he's looking here to scratch the dog. And then the dog's going to be more like there. Okay. I liked that last one because it would have Wilson, but I think maybe it'll just be a little bit of a tighter frame. And then it's going to say, there's a good boy flush. Yeah, Philip was saying, I did storyboarding years ago in animation, so I'm familiar with this. So you agree, right? I mean, like that wasn't working because I'm like, oh crap, I put him on the left. I had to rework it. Because for me, even if other people put that together, the fact that it unsettles me to have that happen means I had to rework it. Okay. That's pretty impressive, man, to do boarding for animation. But it's really good practice to have done storyboarding for animation because comics, I mean, like the same rules kind of can apply. So, okay, here we're going to have her. I'm going to work this out a little bit better. So this is going to be her. I still want her kind of looking adoringly at him. And then we're going to have like our kind of sequence. Yeah, Philip was saying, I see the problem. The limitation is there's no movement in a book form, so you can't move the camera. Exactly. And I mean, you can kind of do a crossing the line of action in comic, but you kind of have to do it in, like, you'd have to kind of show him in between and then over. So like in this case, if I had another panel where like maybe we see Robert like transitioning, or we have like the in between, so we're literally showing the line of action change, it wouldn't be too bad. But the fact that we can't, I figure, okay, so this is her. She's gonna have her arm here, um, and then here's Robert, kind of like he's gonna be like, okay, that's good. I don't like, I really don't like that speech bubble being right there. So we'll kind of correct that in a second. So this is going to be him petting Flush, and that's going to be him scratching the ears. I'm going to have like scritch. I'm going to have the dog like trying to. I'm going to look up references of a Cocker Spaniel, but probably give the dog like maybe its tongue's out or something. It's enjoying it. It's kind of leaning into it. Yeah, there we go. And maybe the tail's kind of thwapping. Okay, now it's going to say there's a good boy Flush. This is even more detailed than I should have a thumbnail, but it's such a complicated sequence that I think it's really important to kind of get this worked out. So then back here, we're still going to see like drawing room table, and then we're going to see foot of the bed, maybe her feet. And then we're going to see like back here, there's definitely going to be like a bookshelf. So that gives us a very quick thumbnail of how that's going to work. I kind of think it's taking up too much real estate for an empty plate of food. So it can get a little smaller. We could also just ditch the empty plate of food, which might be a way to go. I still liked that, but we're going to kind of move that out of the way for now. Okay, we haven't pieced this all together yet. And then we need Elizabeth saying, I guess I could have her say, how would... No, I like the idea of maybe another... Okay. New concept. We're working out like what this page is going to look like, right? I'm going to have this be a little bit more... Oh my gosh, what am I drawing there? I know how to draw a face, I swear. Okay. You know what? Boom. Again, giving just enough information. I need to give just enough information to where this sequence is going to kind of read. So now we've got our food taking much less real estate, and then we've got just enough room. Okay, perfect. And then again, we're going to like take advantage of the fact that we're doing thumbnails here. Merge down. I know this is like not the most exciting art. It's just like working out the sequence. Like, what do we want it to look like? Okay. And then here, it's going to say, this is still, this is going to be her sort of on her pillows. And how would you have me look? There we go. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this. Okay. We've got a little bit more of this kind of working. I think there's some possibilities here now. I like the idea of, yep. So now we have our thumbnail. Oh my gosh, you guys, and it's not even midnight. And I probably spent too much time on this, but there's our thumb. And this one I might save for later, just in case that'll be useful at all. Okay, so got our thumbnail. Now we know what we need to look up. Oh my goodness, you guys. Can you believe this? All right, so that's where we're at right now. I'm going to find this to be a really good breaking point for a few seconds. I'm not going to play a trailer or anything, but I'm going to get a refill of my coffee and kind of reset so that we're ready to do our research stage. And the nice thing is I think we can make a lot of progress without a ton of research as well, just because of the fact that yeah, I mean there's a lot that's already been looked up. Like this whole room sequence here, I don't think that's going to require a lot that we can't pull from other stuff. This sequence, we've pretty much looked up everything except the meal. This sequence, the dog, although we have some, this sequence is going to be the meal again. So that'll be in 2. And then I think maybe another dog would be good. And dog. So, I mean, really, we're not like that far from like done in the sense of the research we have to do. We've already kind of researched a lot of what her room looks like. And so this is going to be really fun. All right. So I'm going to disappear for a few seconds, refill my coffee, and then we'll get into maybe even just getting into the roughs with what we have, because we have a lot. that we can already kind of pull from. So I'll be right back. All right. I guess maybe we should spend a little bit of time gathering the reference and stuff so that the final goes quicker too. So maybe we'll kill two birds with one stone. But we have a whole ton of stuff from page 6 that we can pull. So first, we're going to go ahead and do our panel sequence. I have my little cheat border corners. That we kind of did on our first roughs, and that way we don't have to redraw all those. And I didn't want to flip those horizontally. I wanted to flip those no. What am I doing? Flip vertical, that's what I wanted to do. Okay, so we have that kind of roughly laid out. And I'm going to go ahead and make this super simple where we're going to just connect these. View extras. Connect these. And this is just a rough that we're working on, right? So not super hard here. And connect these. And now I'm going to do, okay, so I think like I probably want to do this in like thirds. So we're going to have it potentially take a little more real estate at the top. But we want to leave a lot of real estate at the bottom because we're going to have space for text. So let me see. Okay, we're still not taking enough real estate at the top. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to do just a little bit thinner in the middle. I think that's going to work really effectively. And now we have to do our extra double banners because that's kind of the style of the book. This will all make sense shortly, you guys. You know what's funny is I think if somebody, I've said this before, but if somebody stumbled upon this stream and they weren't familiar with the art process, they would probably think it was just like some lunatic just being like drawing lines and almost like a conspiracy theory map, you know, where it's like, I often wonder if I was just perusing YouTube and I didn't do art and I saw a cartoonist like mapping out roughs and stuff for like a page, I might think I'm stumbling upon just like some crazy insanity, you know. That was just something that's crossed my mind as a possibility. Okay, here is going to be definitely divided a little tighter on this end than on this. So we're going to kind of do that. We're just doing our panel borders real quick before we get into the nitty gritty of doing the actual roughs. I hope you guys are making progress. Philip said, I think I have to turn in. I'm fading out. I did want to mention I pre-ordered Jacob's apartment today on Amazon. That is exactly the coolest thing. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy it when it arrives. I'm really excited about it. You'll have to let me know what you think of the read. And Philip, since you did storyboarding for animation, you can point out all my sequential errors on it. I'm sort of teasing, but it's like that is one of the curses of having done this stuff for a long time. Once you kind of see behind the curtain, you kind of know what has gone behind everything that's being done, and so it's like I've heard that from people who like I've known people who worked in like VFX for like big studios, and then like the second you've kind of worked in VFX, like if you see a movie, you're like way less impressed with the VFX in it because it's just like, oh man, I know exactly what that filter is or whatever. It's kind of like, I guess, when you see behind the curtain of like Photoshop and then you see somebody use like the bevel emboss effect and you're like, oh, well, I mean, that's just a bevel. You know? Whereas I think a lot of people who don't use Photoshop are just like, that's the coolest thing. It looks like it's like embossed in there. Anyhow, but I hope you enjoy it regardless. And he said, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Philip. I really appreciate that. It's cool to get support for the books that I'm putting a lot of time and love into. So I appreciate that. I want to move this section just a little bit over. Maybe like one notch. Okay. Again, this looks like lunacy, but it'll start to make more sense in a second. Just doing roughs here, guys. Just roughs. I might be a little more kind of like weird about my roughs. Like I do like to kind of have somewhat detailed roughs. Like they're not as detailed as a lot of people's roughs, but you know, I'm also a relatively slow artist, so these things take a long time for me. I don't know if that's an across the board scenario. But I think artists just know their speed, you know. Okay, so then we got this one's going to be more of a square first panel. That's going to be more like this. Probably more like a rectangular, this panel, like somewhat. Okay. We're going to be changing the composition just a tiny bit, just to kind of make it work. Oh. Okay. A lot of real estate in that tiny little corner panel, so we might have to kind of work that out as we get to it. So, okay, let's turn off I'm going to label this thumb. I'm going to lock that, and now I'm going to see how this is looking. I don't like how crunched this is, so I'm going to kind of go ahead and move it a little bit. I just want to avoid a tangent there. And then I think we'll move this just a little bit wider here. So there we go. This is a busy page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 panels. All right, let's make this happen. Thumbnail. We have some type and sound effects. Gary said, I'm tapping out 2 presentation in the morning. Happy drawing. That's okay. I'm doing a bit of a shorter stream tonight. I'm not even sure if I'm going to finish these roughs. So probably thinking by like 12:30-ish, I might be tapping out myself because I equally have like a thing tomorrow that yeah. But anyhow, good luck on your presentation, Gary, and thanks for hanging out. Okay, so we're gonna kind of see. We did finish the thumbnail. That's progress. We make way more progress on the weekends, but depending on how much progress we're able to make here, that'll be good to kind of see. Okay, panel 1. I think for panel 1, we can definitely do. Okay, I'm gonna call this borders. I can move this down, merge down. Yeah, Philip said, I have to turn in. It's 3 a.m. I hate to abandon you, but I'll check out the progress tomorrow. No worries, man. Have a good one. And that's what live streaming is. It's cool, dude. I appreciate you pre-ordering the book and showing up in the live streams. Is really cool. Okay, so and you guys have been really helpful. You guys gave me a lot of good ideas for like food and stuff, which is exciting. Okay, there's a few things I think I need to pull from a previous rough. And we'll see where that gets us. I think it's rough page 6. That's going to have a lot of this lovely material. Okay. So this was the rough for page 6. I think I want to look up the Chase Lounge again. Okay. So let's pull up our interwebs. Oh, at this point, you know what? We already have some Cocker Spaniels. So let's see from our thumbnail what Cocker Spaniels we need. I got a Cocker Spaniel sleeping. Okay, let me pull up the Google search. Let's try a sleeping red Cocker Spaniel. Well, how freaking cute is that? Man, these are cute dogs. Now I can see. I used to have a Cocker Spaniel when I was a kid. It was one of my favorite dogs. And the dog's name was Mr. Darcy because he was kind of moody, like when we first adopted him. This is like when like a family dog, not one that my wife and I had or anything. It's just one from growing up. And that was one of the sweetest dogs in the world. But that goes to show you why I like my sister wrote like a book about the Brownings, and also I'm like really into it. I mean, Mr. Darcy, that's the name of the guy from Pride and Prejudice. But anyhow, that's a little story about a Cocker Spaniel. I'm looking for a particular image of. Let me look at my thumb again. Okay, thumbnail, and I think just a sleeping Cocker Spaniel. Is that called an American Cocker? No. Sleeping Cocker Spaniel. Let's look at the sketch. We have a sketch. Hold on. We do have a sketch of what her dog actually looked like. Got it. Okay. That's good to know. Okay, let's get back to it. I want like a good reference of a sleeping Cocker Spaniel. This is pretty darn good. Okay. I'm going to steal that. So that's going to be I'm going to label this panel 1 Cocker. Okay. We got our Cocker Spaniel. Okay. Oh, I turned off the wrong window. Okay, we got our Cocker Spaniel. That's good. It's panel 1 Cocker Spaniel. We are going to have our thumbnail for, or our rough for page 7 is going to be another reference. So that's going to be useful when it comes to the maid. So we're going to need that. Okay, I'm going to get back to, let's see if we can get into our rough for page 7, because there's a couple things that we might need from there, which is going to be, I believe we need Robert's costume and Robert. So I'm going to do that. This is going to follow us throughout the entire book, having these references. Okay, so there's Robert's costume and Robert. This is going to be maid and entryway. I don't know if we need the entryway. Okay. What else? Okay, we're thinking, is there anything else from this page that I need? I think maybe getting the maid reference too, because we found this cool maid that I want to sort of base the maid off of. So that's going to be the maid. Okay, we're getting compiling all our references here. Okay, we got pretty much everything we need for this page, except we should go back to our rough for page 6. And then we need all of our furniture. Okay, that's what I need to do. Okay, we're gonna put the window back, and now we're gonna do some fun stuff. I'm gonna go to SketchUp library. Um, 3D warehouse. And we're gonna look up the Chase Lounge. I'm pretty sure we found a Chase Lounge. It sort of fit. Chase. Thought we found one last time. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we looked up Victorian. Let's try. Ah. Ah, there it is. There's our Chase Lounge. Okay, we're going to go to see more details. Yes, the 3D model. And now I'm going to get basically reference for pretty much every angle I need here. So first one's going to be that angle. That'll be from the side. If we can have our 3D work here. Okay, so okay. Perfect. Chase Lounge 1. That's going to be Chase 1. Okay. You guys, we're making progress here. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world. Okay, so now we're going to look up, let's see what else we have to do. So now we need to find the chase for this, which is going to be more of like an overhead. So we're going to go back to our thing, trying to kind of mimic that positioning. Okay, so let's mimic that positioning a little bit. I think now we're going to be talking about like that angle. This is why, like, you know, as a base, this 3D model will really help. But of course, I'm not going to wholesale like recreate it. It's just really great reference. You can pull like a pre-built 3D model for furniture that you need to draw. It is not a bad thing. Okay, so now we're going to find an angle that's more like, oh, this will be chase 2. Now we're going to find this one will be chase 3, right? So we need that angle. So let's try to get that angle. Chase 3. It's okay if it has to kind of, it's okay if that's getting cut off too, because we, oh wait, hang on, I was about to screen cap that, and I think I want a little more of an angle here. Okay, that's going to be chase 4. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Label that label chase 4. Did we get chase 3 already? Am I crazy? Or should that be... wait a second. Wait a second. A hot minute here. That's chase 3. How dare I? Okay, so for panel... so for panel, let's see here. Panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Panel 7, we need a chase again. And that's going to be more of like a direct view to the side. So panel 7 is going to be more like direct side view again. Is it from above a little bit? Nope. That's like direct side on shot. In fact, it might be a little bit from below, but let's do that. Okay. That's our chase 4. Or not 4. What panel is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chase 7. And then we just need chase 8. Chase 8 is going to be Chase 8 will be more from like above and like looking down a little bit. Sort of like more of an angle. And let's try moving it a little bit more focused. I think I like the idea of it being a little more angled. A little more like that. Yep. Well, this is giving us a lot of valuable pointers about the main thing I'm going to pull from this 3D model is that curve. So I'm getting a lot of like nice little pointers on what to reference there. So we have Chase 8. Okay, let's go back to our thumbnail. Increase the size of this thumbnail too, because it's a pretty nice thumbnail we made there. Okay, and let's go to, let's turn off that. Okay, so we have our thumbnail. We got all our Chase stuff. Now we can pull other references that we had, like that are going to be empirically helpful for this. Okay, that's one of the bookshelves. We already kind of established that. It's going to just help us roughly understand what the bookshelves are. That is the fireplace that we're kind of doing. We did all this research on a previous one. That is the drawing table. Let's see here. It's so nice to have this stuff. I think this is the map of the room. Okay, maybe not. Okay, we're going to go through. Oh my goodness, you guys can't even see this. Hold on. So we're going through and pulling from previous stuff. So we're definitely going to want her as a reference, but I kind of feel like I want that. The one thing I want to really pull from, that's just a rough idea of their other home. That's the exterior. Although that might be helpful to show us the window. The other side of the window is going to look like the opposite of that. So that will be helpful. Let's pull this. Where is this? Oh, there it is. Okay, let's pull it. So that's good. And just call this window. We'll start labeling these things too, because for this room, drawing, desk, this is going to be our fireplace. And this is going to be our bookshelves. Again, we just used those images to make this overhead view, just so we had a rough idea of what we were kind of drawing from. So I think that's enough. Is there anything else? These were just sort of random Barrett things. This will be useful just to be a reminder. That doesn't hurt. EBB room. Okay. Let's see what else. What other things do we have that might be useful? That was the text that we were kind of basing the room off of. That's the exterior again. Ah, there it is. This will be perfect for just stylizing Elizabeth. Just remember what her facial structure is. It's a sculpture of Elizabeth we came across. And I think that'll do it. So, okay. So we have all this lovely stuff. We have our reference for Robert. We have our reference for the room that, like even this, drawing mixed with the composite that we made, like in the drawing that we made where we worked out the layout of the room, should give us a rough idea enough to kind of work that out. So now I think we have to find more. I feel pretty confident in everything that we found, except now I want to find. Okay, we're going to find a lunch. And then what else? So I want to find the lunch. I want to find more of the dog. So Victorian lunch is going to be helpful, or a dinner, and then the dog. I think that's all we really need other than the thumb. And then we'll have everything we need to kind of get going on these insane roughs. And I don't know how much progress we'll make on it because I think I do have to have a hard out relatively soon. Okay, so we're at the 2-hour mark. So I'm going to put on another trailer, and then we'll get back to kind of collecting all of the wonderful, beautiful resources that we need in order to kind of accurately do our roughs and then our finish. But I'm not sure if we'll make it to doing roughs tonight. I do have to have like a hard out probably by 1 tonight, which is about an hour earlier. But we'll see. We'll see where we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put on the trailer for 2 Stories, which is my graphic novel that's currently out. And it's an autobiographical graphic novel that talks about my journey dealing with depression and caregiving for somebody with panic disorder, as well as growing up as a comic book geek and the weirdness of attending a hypocritical Christian school. So here's the trailer for that. Enjoy, and when we come back, we'll probably finalize at least all the research. So at least we have thumbnails and research done. All right, here we go. We did it. We did our trailer. We had our stretch, and hate to confide this, I actually forgot to refill my coffee. So I'm gonna go do that, and then we'll finish this up. Hang on. So this is kind of fun. Like, to me, this is the fun part of, like, what I'm finding useful with historical fiction is to kind of get a plethora, like a library of stuff that helps you visualize like what the room looks like before you kind of get into roughs. And then once you kind of work that out in the rough stage, it saves you so much work when it comes to like the final drawing, where you can kind of have something that looks really realized and kind of aware of the time period, because you're feeding yourself enough information. Like, for instance, a Cocker Spaniel, I'm not as familiar with a Cocker Spaniel like from the top of my head. So I'm probably going to look up a lot of Cocker Spaniels just to kind of like find. So that's what we're going to do right now. we need to find a Cocker Spaniel here that's going to be kind of popping its head up. So let's get back to our image search thing. And then again, we're going to kind of look up red Cocker Spaniel. And I kind of like the idea of this one here. This one here is like looking like it's kind of like, huh? So that's going to be panel 2 Cocker. I'm going to just go ahead and delete that excess panel because we're not going to use it. Okay. Do I have my panel 1 Cocker Spaniel? Yes. Okay. We have our panel 2 Cocker Spaniel. This one, I want him a little more like he's way more like sitting up and aware. So let's see if that'll work. Ooh, this is really good. So that's going to, again, we're going to consolidate these all into one Cocker. We're just kind of getting info, but there's panel 4 Cocker. And I need to like get into just calling him flush. This is going to be flush. Okay. So now we don't need for panel, wait a minute. Am I labeling these wrong? This will be panel 3 Cocker. For some reason, I'm skipping panels here. Okay. So then now we want to look up panel 4 doesn't have a dog. Panel 5 doesn't have a dog. Panel 6 doesn't have a dog. Panel 7 is the dog getting its ear scratched. But, I mean, we can do a Hail Mary here and see if we have like a scratching. Let's not look up scratching ear. Petting. Let's look up. This could be really bad. This could get me demonetized if it ends up. Okay, luckily it didn't. I was like, ooh, that's pretty good. Because I had a Cocker Spaniel, like I said, growing up, and that's kind of how you pet a Cocker Spaniel. You know what I mean? Like you kind of do that, or that's potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's potentially panel 7. But this, I'm going to look to see if there's a better one. Because I kind of think sometimes you can really luck out and find like an almost perfect. I just kind of want a Cocker Spaniel that's leaning into being petted. That's a pretty good one. This one's okay, but it's like the wrong angle, you know? Like I kind of want more like a dog that's like, actually, you know what? That's pretty good. How about that? It's a much older Cocker, but we can make it younger. That's pretty good. We can also just adjust the posture of it. Like that's pretty good for just the general pose. So maybe we do that and then just kind of take advantage of the fact that we're artists so we can obviously adjust it. Okay, so that's going to be it. So panel 4. So now we have our Cocker. I'm going to call this panel 7 Cocker. And this will be panel 7 Cocker 2. Okay, so we have all our Cocker Spaniels. There's one other thing. So we have dog. Oh, the food. All right, guys. Our last hunt. Our last hunt for the comic. Oh my gosh. I'm excited. I know this is like not the most thrilling thing, but again, I really want to show people like kind of the work and research that goes into like a book like this. And again, like we're getting all the tools to do it correctly. Okay. So let's see if we can now find a Victorian dinner on dinner plate. On tray. A tray would be the right word. Victorian dinner tray? Victorian meal? Ooh. Here we go. We're gonna piecemeal from some of these things. Victorian recipes. I like this. There we go. That's looking a little classier. Is this updated? Yeah, that's looking a little like classier, like almost like it's mixing like sushi or something. Entrees. What about main meals? There we go. We're gonna get kind of silly here with the food if we aren't careful. Easy and delicious Victorian meals. This is fascinating. I think it's going to be a mix of the different courses. And they're not going to be like necessarily having like a Christmas dinner, but they're a pretty wealthy family, you know, wealthy enough for her to have her own maid. And I'm imagining they're, you know, it's like a 3-story flat in London, which at the time was in like a key area where, I mean, eventually, like many years later, like the Beatles lived there and stuff. So this is like a very like main street in London. So they're going to be eating a very wealthy meal. But just having a rough idea of what it's going to be, I don't think that would be hilarious. What do you guys think? Like a boar's head would be hilarious as the meal, but I don't think we're going to go with a boar's head. So we're going to skip the boar's head idea. It's getting closer though. I feel like maybe backing up and going to like, what is this? They were talking about a lot of like soups and meals and stuff. I don't want it to be fish. I don't mind it being. This is pretty good. I like that fillet of beef. And I like this kind of like weird custardy thing. That's number 7. The chartreuse of pheasant. I think this is the route to go for her leftovers, which she's eventually going to feed to her dog. So I'm going to have this be food plates. Food. And then we're going to do Victorian dinner tray. That's what we're going to see here. We're definitely going to see something along the lines of like these glass things. not glass, like the silver stuff. I think that's kind of perfect. Like, I hate to go with like first results, but like that's kind of what I'm envisioning it as. I'm sure it could be something simpler, but this feels very nice. That feels good. Okay, we're gonna do that. This dinner tray here. Oh, there we go. Dinner tray done. All right, guys. So we did our research. We've got this is going to be the dinner tray. And now let's see where we're at on time. Okay, I think we have all the Avengers assembled, you guys, to do some pretty effective roughs now. So I'm wondering how much. It's like I know I have like a hard out at like 1, but let's go ahead and get some progress done before then. So we have like a good 20 minutes or whatever. We can start the roughs. So let's go ahead and start the roughs. So I'm going to move my thumbnail right here. And I want to have where's the Elizabeth's maid? Elizabeth's maid is going to be, again, we're just getting visuals to kind of be able to do a better rough. So her maid is going to be here. I'll just move that down. Her maid, I just want to know what her costume is going to look like, right? So there's the maid. That's going to be the person on the right in the foreground. And then we need Robert stuff. Robert's going to be taking his hat off. So his hat's going to be in there. This is going to be helpful for the room. But, okay, where's the Chase Lounge? Chase 1. It's going to be our Chase Lounge. The rest of the room, I think we can kind of invent a little bit as we go. But at least this will give us like a rough perspective of that. There's our Chase. Did I accidentally move one of these things? Oh, we haven't gotten to Robert yet. So this is going to be the Chase Lounge. That's going to be there in the center. We're going to have this. I'm just going to make really small. This is the page that we did prior that takes place in the same room. So we want to make sure we're kind of being consistent with the placement of items and such lovely things. So I'm going to have that. I want to have that kind of here. This is the tough thing with reference. Maybe we can make that Chase a little smaller. Okay, we have our Chase. Now we need Robert stuff, Robert costume, and Robert's costume. Perfect. So here's Robert's costume. That's going to be helpful for us to have. And then we're going to have Robert here. So let's start with the maid. Okay, so let's start with the maid in the foreground. And then I'm going to look at the door here. You guys see that? Like, here, I'll highlight it. Where the marching ants are, like that's going to be the pattern on the door, in theory. So, okay. So we're going to do, I'll call this panel 1. Whatever. We don't need anything crazy. We just need to draw our maid kind of in that scenario. And again, if we draw outside of the box, that's okay. There is plenty to do. So I'm going to have her face is like here. She's got like kind of a wider, broader forehead. I'm going to kind of have her here. Just going to have this. She's got like sort of like this interesting hair that kind of comes out. So we've got her hair. And then this is going to be sort of like a frilly lace type of hat that's going to kind of be circular. And then the top is going to be more kind of imprinted. So we've got our circular kind of thing. Our maid, whose neck is going to be out a little bit. And she's going to have her... Okay, this is going to fold over a little bit. These older outfits like really accentuated women's necks. So I want to make sure that I'm not kind of couching their neck down. Plus, like, people especially went to like finishing schools and stuff, even for like to be maids. So they probably aren't going to have like awful posture, you know. That's just something I'm thinking of. So, okay, the maid's arm is going to be kind of like this. It's very fluffy at the top. This is going to get thinned out. Her frilly thing here. And her hand. How do I want her hand to be? I want her hand to be kind of more casual. Because if her hand's like too... if it's like spread out like that, it's gonna like seem like a horror movie, almost like, you know. And we already kind of built a little bit of suspense with Robert, so we don't want to like give the wrong impression here. At this point, it should be pretty clear what Robert's there to do. Like, he's not a threat at this point. We were building a little suspense on the previous panels. And also that arm is huge compared to that neck. So we're going to shrink that down. Okay. And I am kind of digging this. Okay. So there we go. Now we've got, we're going to have her having, okay. So she's got this kind of frilly maid thing going on. And that's going to be part of this. We sort of established this on the first one where it's going to have like a tie on the back. That's how these usually were put on. And we're going to have her arm. Her arm is going to be back, like opening a door here. So I want to have that frilly thing, and then it's going to be, let's see if we can fill it out. I liked the way I worked it out in the rough, where we were sort of having like her arm back a little bit. What's going on here? She's kind of pushing the door open. There we go. Got it. And now we've got this sort of frilly apron thing that's going on here. And I liked the movement of having like sort of like swoosh there, like that. Like that movement, even if it's like inaccurate, creates like a really interesting dynamic on the page. Okay. Now we've got, what is going on here? So now we've got that. It's going to be tilted a little bit, just like in the thumbnail. And then we've got our door frame, which is going to be here. This is the door, the entryway. This is where I need to really, I think we're good on the nurse for now. So let's turn off the maid because we don't need to see that. And maybe I'll move one of these pages in where it's like, okay, so we have the previous page that we did. That's going to be useful for the door kind of a little bit, just to kind of rough it out. Okay, so we've got our door. Oh, what am I doing? Let's move that back because I was covering my own thumbnail. So move that back. Oh, come on. There we go. I'll move it back here. I'll move it back down. Okay. So we have our door. That's going to be kind of open. So let's just thumb it out. I'm overthinking here. Okay, so we got our door. Oh, also want to keep those guides. I should probably lock my guides. If I were a smarter man. Let's see. Looking which way doors up. Okay, it's a two-way door. Okay, that's pretty good. So that's going to be like kind of a more crazy doorknob. It's definitely going to have its like latch thing here. Going to have this. I like that as a movement. This will have like kind of some of the door stuff, the Victorian door stuff. So sort of assume it's going to have like a vibe, old door knob kind of thing. Okay, there's our door. This is going to be the exterior, which is going to have more of that like faux Victorian stuff going on, similar to what we had before. Okay, and then that's going to be like toned back quite a bit. You know what? Let's not get into tone yet. Okay, so now we've got this section all done. Okay, now we've got our Chase Lounge. Hold on a second. Chase Lounge. We're going to have Elizabeth actually. Okay. So we have, I don't think we need, let's do Robert real quick because Robert's the other key figure here, right? So let's do Robert. Robert's going to be running. Okay. So I'm going to have Robert kind of running. He's got his hair kind of going crazy. Back. Maybe his beard thing. He's running with urgency. Well, he's kind of sneaking into the room. So, what am I doing here? Okay, Robert's got his high thing there. He's going to have like his coat. This is on a separate layer, right? Just caught myself. Oh. Get Robert on a separate layer just so we can kind of move him and scale him if we need to. Okay, so he's going to have his arm back, this arm back. He's wearing this outfit below, so I'll keep that in mind. So here's him scaling back. He's holding his top hat. So his top hat's going to be here. I have that That's way too wide of a brim for his head. That's like if he's a very tiny person. Okay. So a little bit thinner. We're going to have him holding his top hat. He's going to have that top hat's black. This is black. He's drawn his arm just a little bit too big. Okay. He's also going to be, I like this being a little more like that. I also like the idea of kind of more of a hunch to his like posture because he's really going to be moving here. And this is a thin, he has like a thin, okay. A thinner coat. And his coat is going to be kind of flying out because he's moving. So we have Robert's coat flying, moving. I don't like this silhouette without having some, needs to have like kind of more clarity. So I like the idea of this being maybe his hands here. We've got the him doing this here. Is he still holding that letter? Like, why did he have a letter? Did we bring up the reason why he was holding a letter? Ah, okay. The well-worn letter is going to be in his pocket. Good to know. If there's a pocket, is there a pocket on the sides of these coats? I don't think so. It's going to be like a breast pocket. Okay, cool. Just good to check my stuff. Okay, so now here's Robert's. His leg is going to be kind of more like this, with a little bit of movement, action. We got like these cool like pointy shoes. And I like the idea of this being kind of a almost like a cartoon foot there. We'll have like almost the chapow. There we go. It's almost like a broken leg because it's going to be creating that action. And I like the idea of adjusting so that his knees are actually not like insane. And he's going to have like a higher waist. Let's correct this a little bit. Even though it's rough, it doesn't hurt to have like a little bit of accuracy, where we could do that and have it like that. And I don't mind that his front leg is looking a little broken because that's kind of what we want here. We want some movement. Okay, now let's get him a little more dynamic. And I'm going to have maybe a little more stretch. And I kind of dig it. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got Robert. And I'm going to take the liberty of doing the other side of the entryway here with a door that's open. It's going to be like sort of coming. Just so we kind of have a rough framework of like what this is. This could be the entryway with the molding, and then this will be like a tile kind of thing. Now we're like 7 minutes away from having to kind of turn in. Okay. Let's work out the chase. So Robert's done for this panel. I can turn off my Robert costume and Robert. now we need our Elizabeth stuff. So we've got Elizabeth. EB, that's good. And mostly like these three, I think will work for that. Okay, so we're gonna have Elizabeth. You know what? I don't even know if I need this. Okay, so because we have like a really good reference from just the previous page. Okay, so we're gonna have EB's Chase Lounge here. Oh, hold on a second. Merge down. Merge down. Merge. Okay. So now we're going to do our Chase Lounge. I like the idea of it being kind of here. And Elizabeth is going to be here. A little bit lower. Chase Lounge will be here. Got like kind of our stuff. It's going to have a side to it, so it's going to have like the floor part. Now we're going to look at the room. Maybe it's like more kind of in perspective. That would be good. This is going to be where we have our food tray. And kind of furniture type thing going on. And this is going to be behind her, like the drawing table. We're going to have that here. We're going to have a painting right up here. It's on the wall. We're going to have our drapes are going to be here. And it's going to be 3 windows, but I think we're probably going to see 2. And we're going to have our Victorian trim and probably like a bookshelf kind of here. Okay. That is all we need for a rough panel, but it's a lot clearer to read, I think. I do want to kind of clarify a little bit just for the sake of the rough. I want to highlight the him right here. And then we're going to do merge down. Turn off our thumb. Turn off our chase in page 6. And now we can actually think about like lighting and stuff. So we have one rough down. This is going to be borders. And let's see. So we have one rough. We didn't get to rough out the whole page. I think if we had like another hour, that would be cool. And usually on these streams, I'm able to kind of do till 2. 2 is usually my time that I can work till. Unfortunately, I have like a very kind of urgent thing at work tomorrow that I need to get a decent amount of sleep to kind of deal with. And I'm pretty excited about it, but that also cuts into a little bit of production time on this comic, and that's okay. That's just the way it goes sometimes. So here we're going to have, I think I like the idea of toning back a little bit, clarifying a little bit of the room. We still have like that light source, so that's coming from the fireplace, which is a good thing to kind of keep in mind. And now we have an external kind of light source as well. And we're going to have our little circular floor. So that'll be interesting, kind of work that out. So there we go. We have one panel roughed out. And that's not so bad. Thank you guys thanks to everybody who actually hung out. And so, I mean, today we accomplished quite a bit. I'm going to make this thumbnail a little smaller so we can kind of see what we accomplished. So we got these thumbnails done, like a really solid thumbnail, and worked out the composition of the page. We started the roughs, and so I think tomorrow, in fact, I'll even set this up so that tomorrow night, or I should say later today, we're able to just kind of pull it open and rock it from panel 2, which will be a lot of fun. But I think we have a good solid start of working out this page. Personally feel like that has a lot of movement and clarity, and I like the way that first panel is kind of coming out. And I'm going to just go ahead and hit save, and then we're going to go ahead and call it. So let me go to the full cam. All right. Thanks to everybody who showed up, watched the stream. If you haven't yet, check out my graphic novel that talks about my journey dealing with depression, as well as caregiving for somebody with panic disorder, suicidal ideation, some really heavy topics, as well as some lighthearted stories about growing up as a geek and dressing as Indiana Jones and being obsessed with Back to the Future. This is an autobiographical comic that'll be a two-book series, and book 1 is available now. I need to hold it on this side. That's probably better. So this is available now. It's 2 stories, and you can get that at the link below through Amazon. And I also would encourage you guys to make sure you've pre-ordered my graphic novel, Jacob's Apartment, that comes out on June 7th. And again, if you're near the Toronto area in June, there's a show called TCAF, and I should be at it to kind of sign and sell copies of this. But make sure you pick up a copy, help pre-order it, ask your local comic shop or bookstore like Big Barnes & Noble or anything like that to make sure that they're stocking Jacob's Apartment from Graphic Mundi by Joshua Kemble, Kemble, at your local bookstore. And that'll do it. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate everybody following the stream. And if you want to make sure you catch the next streams, make sure you're subscribed, you've hit follow. And again, like to help the algorithm and stuff, leave a comment on the video if you enjoy these. All right, that'll do it, and I'll see you guys on the next art stream, and we'll make more progress on Not Death But Love, the graphic novel. All right, have a good night, or morning, I should say.